Welcome to the REALL Academy, brought to you each Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time by the Leadership Doctors, Dr. Sheka Houston and Dr. Tammy Taylor, best-selling authors, consultants, and speakers of Create and Educate LLC. Create and Educate LLC is an educational consultant and literary firm that provides professional development to schools and community. Their goal is to transform organizations with the REALL Resilience Framework used to increase their school report card grades 2 and 3 grade levels in 1 year. REALL stands for Respect, Excellence, Accountability, Literacy, and Leadership. This framework is used to coach leaders and teachers and build student efficacy while putting systems in place that aligns the work of the school improvement, making the process manageable. When the work is manageable, teachers and leaders don't stress out or burn out. The Leadership Doctors' alignment systems are designed to help schools evolve and grow, all while instituting protocols and processes designed to promote collaboration and collegiality. Alignment systems are frequently referred to as a key element of success in the improvement process. In the sport of rowing, all rowers must put their oars in the water succinctly, creating a system for their boat to reach maximum speed. So schools that want to improve are bringing in the Leadership Doctors to teach them all about the alignment systems that must be in place for school improvement to be accomplished at high levels. The dynamic duo provides insights into educational topics through their international platform, which includes educators, parents, and community members as a way to support important entities that make communities thrive. This is their way to pay it forward and provide the support they needed through their platform. They get into the weeds of work with leaders through their TrustMate Institute that you should contact them about today by filling out the contact form on their website. Welcome to the REALL Academy, brought to you each Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time by the Leadership Doctors, Dr. Sheka Houston and Dr. Tammy Taylor. REALL stands for Respect, Excellence, Accountability, Literacy, and Leadership. This framework is used to coach leaders and teachers and build student efficacy while putting systems in place that aligns the work of the school improvement, making the process manageable. The Leadership Doctors' alignment systems are designed to help schools evolve and grow, all while instituting protocols and processes designed to promote collaboration and collegiality. They get into the weeds of work with leaders through their TrustMate Institute that you should contact them about today by filling out the contact form on their website.
Happy Saturday, everyone. Welcome to episode 139 of the REALL Academy, brought to you by Create and Educate with your very own Leadership Doctors, HERS, home of the Resilience Framework. I am Dr. Sheka Houston.
Good morning, and I am Dr. Tammy Taylor. Good morning, Sheka. Good morning, REALL family.
Good morning, Tammy. Good morning, everyone. This is probably our first weekend in a couple of weeks that we have been live. So we definitely look forward to our roll call that we've missed for the past couple of weeks. We have, like Principal Hurt told you, have been in New York at the OSG conference and visited some schools here in South Carolina. So busy, but a good busy and thankful busy. So good morning to Miss Truesdale. Thank you for joining us out in Atlanta. Miss Real Purposeful, thank you for joining us. Dr. Roz Gaskins, thank you for joining us. Miss Donna Gant, thank you for joining us. Mr. Central Hicks, we appreciate you joining us. Principal Kafele, thank you for joining us. And Josh told us he got to see you when you were up this way in Charlotte. We got to see Josh the Sunday that we flew back. Our flights came in at the same time. So we appreciate you, Principal Kafele. Miss Dot McKeever Jeter, thank you for joining us. Principal Sean Hurt, who keeps it on fire every Saturday. Thank you for joining us. All of those gems that you dropped this morning were great, Principal Hurt. Miss September, Devon Vance Daniels, thank you for joining us. Jasmine Harris out in California, thank you for joining us. And there is Josh. Buenos dias, Josh. Good morning. Melissa Jones Chunu out in Oklahoma, thank you for joining us. Stacy L. Joy, also out in California. Thank you for joining us. And Josh is telling us he's in Garland. Latoya McGriff, thank you for joining us. She is our unicorn. If you haven't seen her podcast that she does for children, her story time for children, she's the unicorn teacher. She is phenomenal out in Aiken, South Carolina, and she
Please
also
connect with me, Miss McGriff. We need to talk.
She also visits schools. So we look forward to having you in our district, Miss McGriff. Cynthia Farmer, good morning to you. And my mom, good morning. Miss Beverly Hall. Let's see. Mr. Al Hassan Suso from New York City. Thank you for joining us. I'm not sure if you were at the OSG conference or not, but we appreciate you joining us. We were there not too long ago. So I think I got everybody. Oh, the Queen is here with us, Miss Kimberly Ron Kafele. We are honored to have you joining us.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
Good
you.
morning.
And Dr. Carmen Britton from our district. Thank you for joining us. So we are every week we ask you all to drop an emoji or a testimonial about how you have kept it real. Our REAL acronym, as you heard in the promo, stands for respect, excellence, accountability, literacy, and leadership. So we have told you a few ways that we've kept it real. Let us know if there's been some great things that you've been doing to keep it real with students. One way that we're definitely keeping it real today is that it's spring break. So we are getting ready for that needed break. Everybody needs that time to recharge and get re-energized, spend time with family. So I'm looking forward to that. And I know Tammy is as well. The REAL acronym is not just a catchy phrase. It is rooted in the correlates that were developed by Dr. Ron Edmonds, and we placed them on a framework to make it easy for leaders to align their initiatives to that, as well as align the school to the framework, because when you have alignment, that just makes everything easier for everyone. Everybody's speaking the same language. Everyone is headed in the right direction. But if you're not familiar with Dr. Ron Edmonds, his improvement strategies refuted the 1966 Coleman report that African American students could not learn at the same rates as their white counterparts. So he found things that were in common with schools that were 90% African American, 90% performing, and 90% poverty.
Yes, and if you guys would just kind of take a look at our framework, you can tell that our framework will be like what's used for us to connect that research and put it into terminology that is easy, and it allows leaders to organize their daily tasks around the school in those principles that have been set forth that are called correlates by Dr. Edmonds. And the same thing can be done with teachers that can organize easily the tasks that they have for their classrooms around the correlates. And then likewise for students in the classrooms, they can organize themselves around those very same principles and help them to become efficient, because as Sheka said before, The research has proven that what the Coleman report suggested is erroneous, and our kids can learn, and they can learn at high levels. And if you guys can hear, we were in New York last week in Harlem having a ball, and I was not around any trees, and came back, stepped off the airplane, and pollen got in my throat. So if you all hear me this morning sounded like a machine, that's why, because I am back in South Carolina in the green pollens.
Pollen Central is everywhere.
Yes.
So that brings us to our topic for today, episode 139. What determines if your school is healthy? So just put some ideas of what's coming to mind when you hear that question. And we're going to tell you in just a moment, but we want to hear from you what you think determines if your school or your organization is healthy or not. What is that one thing or some of those top things that really lets people know if it's a healthy organization? A lot of times, when you pose this question, people will say things like the culture. They'll look at certain aspects, but I want to give a shout out to Dr. Gerard from the State Department. Um, and I'm having a brain freeze, Tammy.
Edwards, Dr. Gerard
Dr.
Edwards.
Gerard Edwards, who in my IDA class, class 25, cohort 25, we he introduced us to a great book by The Advantage, Patrick Lencioni. And so I'm going to read an excerpt from the book. He says that no action, activity, or process is more central to a healthy organization than the meeting. I see that Principal Hurt talked about feedback from the staff and how they feel about working at the school or the district. So that definitely lends itself to culture. And then Josh says healthy would be law, number of discipline issues, or the number of
Low.
students, low number, I'm sorry, of discipline issues that the team members or students are having, not
Now
being
she is in
short with each
denial. She
other.
needs some glasses on her
Yeah,
eye.
reading glasses. I won't wear them. Um, but yes, thank you for both of those. So, according to Mr. Lencioni, who does a lot of culture work, no action, activity, or process is more central to a healthy organization than the meeting. And I know many of you are thinking a meeting because most of us really don't like meetings, if we're being completely honest. I know I have not enjoyed them since I have been at the district level because that seems like that's the thing to do up there. We meet a lot. So he says, in fact, if someone were to offer me one single piece of evidence to evaluate the health of the organization, I would not ask to see financial statements, review its product line, or even talk to its employees or customers. I would want to observe the leadership team during a meeting. And after you get into the book, it really makes a lot of sense because when you're observing a leadership team meeting and when you're observing the meeting, this is where the work is getting done. So we're going to take this through our framework, starting with respect and looking at the why, how did he come up with this determination? So, with respect, again, he's looking at those interactions between the team members. Does everyone have a voice? Is everyone seen, heard, and loved in the meeting? Are there some people who have what I call the takeover spirit? Sometimes I have the takeover spirit and I have to calm myself down. It's because I'm passionate. That's what I always tell people. Um, and do you have daily check ins? So, making sure that people's voices are heard, respected, that fits right into our framework, starting with that first principle of respect. And Tammy's going to go to the next one with excellence.
Yes, and Sheka has that take over spirit, she calls it, because Dr. Chester says she's tangy, and in her mind, she thinks that nothing is more important than her, or
Or
nobody
my
is
thoughts.
more important than her, or her thoughts are always the most important. So she does not mean any harm in her taking over in the meeting. But the next part of our framework, of course, is excellence. And the question that we ask here is there differentiating in the meetings that you're having? Not just differentiation within that meeting time, but are you differentiating with the types of meeting that you're having? And in this book, this is something, as Sheka said, that she used in her course. Now, I like Lencioni's work because he does a lot with business. And um, as you know, when you have successful ideas about how to run a corporation, you can apply those principles to any organization and make it fit in a way that helps you to take it to that next level. But he mentions 4 types of meetings that should be occurring and are appropriate for leadership teams. And one is the daily check in, the other is weekly staff meetings. The other 2 are ad hoc topical meetings, and quarterly or annually taking your staff, your team off site to have an off-site review meeting that sometimes we refer to as retreats. And we talked about this a little bit before coming on with you all, just to make sure we are clear about how we hope you process this information, because we're not saying that you go back and you change the way that you do your general staff meetings or even your leadership team meetings, because depending who's on your team, you will have to make this make sense for you and make it work in a way that works for the way that you have structured your teams. But the daily check-in definitely could be something that is utilized for your immediate team, who you are going to have to plan around and work with throughout the day. So just making sure that we know that there are different types of meetings that should be in place, and that we don't run all meetings exactly the same way.
Exactly, Tammy. And I love what Principal Hurt said, because I think everybody feels this way.
Mhm.
I cannot stand meetings. Less meetings, the better for me. And after reading this book, we feel that way because most people do them wrong. And especially in education, because in education a lot of people feel like, that's how you show your level of importance, or the level that you are of hierarchy, who
Yeah.
gets to talk at the meeting.
And
And so
Principal Hurt, I think there is a book. I think the same guy might have written it. It's called Death by Meetings. It's like
mhm,
they kill you in these meetings, and
yes,
everybody is talking to you about what you could have read on the weekly updates, and it's about to send you into oblivion, because time is such a resource for us as educators. It's that thing that you
mhm.
cannot find usefulness in sitting through unnecessary meetings, so you have to make them intentional.
So one thing that the daily check-in does that Tammy was talking about, and this is only like a 5 to 10 minute meeting. We've been doing this. We've started it at our district level team in our department, because we want to model it to make it something that possibly the leadership teams at the school level could do. So we want to be able to share from our experience. So what it has done, we have a WhatsApp. Everybody has WhatsApp on their phone. We created a group, so if you're on the road, if you're in the building, we all gather around the counter. Everybody checks in and says how they're feeling for today, and what they have on the agenda. It has taken no more from 5 to 7 minutes for everyone to go through, and it's 12 people in our department. So even if I'm somewhere else, I check in on the app, and I can hear everybody talking. Everybody can hear me. We've checked in, everybody knows, what's going on. And when we get to our staff meeting, now we don't have to do those updates. because we've heard all week what everybody's doing. The updates are not necessary because we've heard what everyone is doing already. So it takes something off of the plate. So when he's saying that you're having these 4 meetings, it's not that you're adding things. When you do them correctly, it should be taking some things off of the plate somewhere else in another meeting. So the other thing that he talks about with going through our framework that lends itself to accountability is having real-time agendas. We've been taught in many instances in education to make sure that we have an agenda, before going into the meeting. And he has something that counters this. He says that you don't know what you need to discuss until you come together and assess the situation. So the leader goes around and asks everyone to share what he or she believes are the top priorities for the week. The key word is believe, because once everyone has shared, then you prioritize everything. And then the beauty of the real-time agenda is that the team avoids sitting through a presentation or a discussion of little importance. And so if we have any people who are watch the movie Jerry Maguire, that famous line of "You had me at hello." He had me at avoiding sitting through a presentation or a discussion of little importance, because that brings us back to what Principal Hurt said. This is why people can't stand meetings, because that's normally what it turns into: somebody presenting so they can feel important, or having some type of discussion that has not brought us closer to the vision or the goals of the organization.
And another part of that death by meetings that makes us dread having to go is, and in a situation where the culture isn't strong enough to withstand those kinds of meetings, they turn into gripe sessions. And that's why I feel like having a focus really does help to make sure that people have something to pull from and some parameters that you need to stay within. She could do the literacy one with the cards so that everybody understands that.
Okay. So in the book, and this was from the group that we just had, IDA 25, with Dr. Gerard Edwards. He talked about having a scorecard. So in your organization, before you ever have a meeting, you should have determined what your vision and goals are for your organization. He calls it 6 essential questions. And if you have not done that, then really, what are you meeting about? And what the scorecard does is each meeting should be getting you closer to those goals. And so you score yourself on your actions that have been taken from each meeting to, are we getting closer to this goal based on these actions? And you kind of give yourself a color on those different things. So the literacy part of it is when you read your scorecard to determine if what has come out of the meeting is getting you to your scorecard, your vision, and your goals, then you know that that was productive. So you have to read your scorecard in order to know whether or not you're getting closer to those visions and goals that you set for your organization.
Yeah, I like the way that you explain it. The scorecard, though, for those of you who are on with us this morning, your scorecard might not be a scorecard like you can begin to create that, because I really am going to look at that and think about how I can incorporate that in my meetings. But your scorecard could really actually go to being your school improvement rubric. That's kind of what we use to gauge if we're on track to meeting the goals that we've set for school improvement. So again, taking the information that we're sharing with you this morning and fitting that into what your context sounds, looks, feels like, will help you to figure out how this can be valuable to you. And finally, we of course always close the framework with leadership. And for this particular aspect of the meetings, the job of leadership is to keep the train on the tracks. When somebody brings up a topic that is either a distraction or something that could be or should be being discussed in another meeting, you have to make that known and table that one and put it on the agenda for the next meeting or a different type of meeting. Acknowledge that the person has given a great idea and whatever their thoughts are, but let them know that we're going to have to save that for our ad hoc meeting, or we're going to save that because that's going to be a part of what we do at our leadership retreat when we go to wherever we're going. Chateau and Lawn is where I would love to take my people. But we don't usually get there. However, we do have a very, very productive usually 2-day retreat each summer where we get to spend some time together offsite, informal but formal, while we're looking at the goals that we had for the previous year that we are closing, and adjusting those goals to move us forward to make sure that we can get to that next level.
Most definitely. And the title of the book is The Advantage by Patrick Lencioni. If you've ever read 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, he is the author of that book.
And the motive, that's a really good, it's not technical like the book that you're, The Advantage. I'm going to get that one too. But he also did The Ideal Team Player. Very good books. He's a good author.
He is. And one thing that I'm charging myself with is a lot of times we go to professional development, we attend training, and we get new information and we put it on the shelf. So instead of getting new information and tucking it away, into your long-term memory, take the information and put it into action. So that's what we have done with we're starting with the daily check-ins. We haven't gotten to that weekly staff meeting that's supposed to be a tactical meeting the way that he describes it yet. I'm hoping to get there. And if you decide to get the book and try any of the new meeting formats, please let us know how it's going. Because I think it just really made a whole lot of sense, and it'll take people away from meetings. Aren't necessary, they are essential, but when they're done right, they are a lot more productive and people actually get what they need from them versus just being there to check a box, because we check boxes in leadership too. It's not just teachers. So we have to stop checking boxes as well and be the model for everyone in the school. So that brings us to our time. We hope that if this is your spring break week that you are going to enjoy that.
Yes.
And if not, then we hope when it does come that you do enjoy. Join us next on Principal Kafele's page. He has a phenomenal guest lined up. And then Sundays on Unlock the Middle, if they are off of their hiatus. And then back on Saturdays, starting with Principal Sean Hurt at 10 o'clock, and then Create and Educate at 10:30.
And we're going to have an in-person live event on April 13th at the Darla Moore School of Business at the University of South Carolina. That is our culminating event for Build My Sister. So if you're in our area or would like to come, please join us. We'll get some information out this week to everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great Saturday.